So, TLOU 3 apparently destroyed everything in civilization or restored hope to the universe. So, between these warring, polarizing interpretations, what did I think? Well, I do think this was better than episode 2, but we haven't gone back to like the near perfection of episode 1. So, without spoiling too much, what did and did not happen? Well, we did still get a lot of pretty good Joel and Ellie stuff, but you're not going to be spoiled by knowing that basically this is Bill's story. A lot of this is Bill, a lot of this is Frank. If you have not played the games, this will probably be a little weird that these new characters to you just came on board and they dominated the episode. And if you do know the games, you'll know that their story is very, very different in the games. It's much more implicit. We do know a little bit about Bill, so the main controversy, which you can't really dodge, that he is, quote, gay, they keep that. And as far as I know, that is canonical. They didn't really ruin him, as far as I know, but they did add substantively to the backstory. And it is a huge part of this episode, and this episode is big. That, I think, hopefully explains my score, that it was a little imbalanced. I would have liked a little bit more Joel and Ellie, but I think the ending was pretty strong. On the whole, I did like it, but definitely if you're a purist, you can find things to nitpick. But I do find it weird that the main complaint, allegedly aesthetic, that it was too much of a utopia with Bill and Frank. I don't think it was. They definitely showed that there were some problems they had to manage through. It is, yes, convenient that they didn't face more challenges, but that could be the case. I mean, people think the apocalypse, you're going to face a threat every single day. Maybe, maybe not. I did wish some of the flashbacks were handled a little bit differently. I did like the early part of Bill better. I'm not going to lie there. I think him sort of setting up barricades and just him basically controlling a town was kind of fascinating. I wish they did a little bit more there. Different parts will appeal to different people. I thought on the whole it was balanced, especially the ending with Bill and Frank's story, that it could have been more grisly and explicit, but I think they showed a lot of reserve. The music especially was very touching and moving. I'm not quite sure why people are panicking on the right side, although on the left side, people declaring this the greatest love story of all time. I'm like, it was fine. And I think you want to maintain some consistency. So if you're okay with, quote, female nudity in Game of Thrones, I like Natalie Dormer. I like Natalie Dormer taking off her clothes. So if you found those appealing, then you can't really maintain that, well, this went too far. It's HBO. We know HBO puts in adult material. Really, I mean, you can't really say you're shocked. I do think if you want to do these kinds of stories, probably Buffy the Vampire Slayer remains a good standard. And even that had a lot of issues because, like many fans, I'm still not clear why Tara with Willow and how their relationship worked. It didn't quite make sense to me. And then they tried to, quote, improve things with Kennedy. That also did not quite make sense either. And I like Kennedy. I don't hate Kennedy. I don't hate Tara, but they did seem to be flailing their arms at getting the precise relationship correct with Willow. But I think they sincerely tried. And to me, that's probably the standard they need to go with. This doesn't match that standard. It did feel a little bit forced at times, the relationship, and certain plot beats they had to speed through and then they slowed down unnecessarily. So it does drag in a lot of places, but you can kind of see their dilemma. If they are going to do this, they need to do a lot of it. If they just did it really quickly, they'd get attacked for just not giving this enough attention and care. For what it was fine. It is kind of a bit of a distraction from the main story, but I don't mind that if backstories are fascinating. For instance, Darth Maul, episode 1, we don't really know anything about him, so you want a little bit more backstory, but you don't want to have too much backstory because that could also ruin the character. So I think it was balanced, but I respect people who did not like the episode. I don't respect people who are giving this a 2 out of 10. I think that's probably a very, very severe score for no reason. But if you gave it a 5 or 6, I can see why that happens. That, again, it is technically meant to be Joel and Ellie's story, and that should be the central focus, but you can take tangents. I don't see a major problem. But yeah, I'm a little suspicious people are giving it a perfect score because, it's the greatest thing of all time. I'm giving this a 8.65. I think that's a fair score. The music and sound design this time were really, really strong. So the direction was a lot stronger than the last episode. So Neil Druckmann, I think, still needs to polish his director skills and restrain himself. This felt, for the most part, fairly well balanced in the elements. Do want to push back for people saying Bill was nerfed or he's not as mean as he should be. he seemed pretty mean to me, so I don't know what they wanted. They wanted him to be hardcore apocalyptic crazy man. I maintain a standard with Spider-Man and other things that you want to maintain some fidelity to the source material. Clearly, they're not. They're diverging in major places, but I didn't think it was too bad. They also did some things with Ellie which were a little weird, making her more sadistic. And frankly, it's kind of like an Arya Stark interpretation. So we'll see what comes of that. So on the whole, very good episode. I do recommend it. But again, if you're a purist with the video games, I can see where you're going to come in and really not want to see what they're preparing because, like, okay, this is a red flag that they're going to go in different directions that you may not approve of. And I can respect purity.